Should Donald Trump be banned from speaking in Parliament? A group of MPs and peers has launched a campaign to try and block it from happening. They accuse Trump of being a liar who has disrespected Britain and claimed he's not acting in good faith because of the tariffs he introduced. A message sent to the Speaker of the Lords said it would be inappropriate for the President to give a speech in the Palace of Westminster. But it's happened before. In fact, there are only 3 US presidents who've given speeches to MPs and peers. First, there was Ronald Reagan in 1982. That was in the Royal Gallery. Then came Bill Clinton in 1995, also in the Royal Gallery. But then Barack Obama was the first president to give a combined speech to both Commons and Lords in Westminster Hall. So, will Trump settle for anything less than that? The state visit is happening potentially in September. Is he going to be offered the same platform? And if he gets less than Obama, will he accept it? What do you reckon, Lin Mei?
I don't think that we should block him. If we do, we're proving him and JD Vance right in terms of, freedom of speech. We know that the US is the UK's largest export partner. We're looking for a trade deal. Yes, he imposed tariffs, but they were considerably lower than many other countries. And, we don't have to agree or like everything Trump says, but I think we need to allow him to say his piece. And I don't think if we do prevent that, what will that do for our economy? Also, this whole idea, arms open wide for Obama. He dropped the most bombs, almost 3 every hour in a total of a year. So why would we always look at Obama as this amazing individual, but, we let him come and have his say. So why wouldn't we Trump?
OK, so bombs, which conflicts are we talking about there?
2016.
OK.
But throughout his tenure, he dropped the most bombs on countries,
I'm not sure how that affects our relationship. Well, I'm not sure how that affects our relationship.
I'll tell you why it affects our relationship. Because this whole idea of us having the moral high ground, and then if we're going to prevent Trump from speaking as, because he's lied, Keir Starmer has lied multiple occasions. We can see the things that he's done which weren't in his manifesto. Boris lied multiple times. Most politicians have been seen to lie. So if that's the determining factor, I don't think anyone should speak in Parliament or the House of Commons. OK, democratically elected leader of the free world, Gemma.
We have plenty to gain, as Lin Mei said, from allowing him access to this thing which, let's face it, we saw how he responded in the first instance to the state visit. It's something that he values very highly.
I think comparing Obama and Trump is like apples and pears. I really do. The US is in absolute chaos at the moment. There's been hundreds of thousands of people in places from as far as Utah to Ohio to New York protesting what is happening there right now. Their economy is in turmoil. Just now, basically, their beef isn't being bought anymore by China, who are now going to Australia to buy their beef. I mean, who knows where we'll be at come the autumn. He's only been in 90 days, and we are affording him a state visit. That is a huge honour, and that should be enough soft power.
Shouldn't we hear what he has to say,
suck up to the narcissist.
No. I want to hear what Trump's got to say.
So him
Good
coming
or bad?
over in the first, him coming over, we hear it every flipping day. Coming over is hugely controversial, actually, and there are going to be protests on the ground, as there were in 2018. I think then allowing him the privilege of standing in our parliament, which, for better or worse, it did try its best with a liar like Johnson. We tried to seek to uphold a certain style of political discourse that does get called out by the Speaker. We need to preserve the integrity of our democratic institutions and not undermine its values. This man has said things like called Mexican rapists. He's said so many terrible, disgusting things within his discourse. He's just failed another 93% of his legal challenges have failed. So now he can't send people to Venezuela.
Let's talk about...
He's an insurrectionist. He's a convicted felon.
Okay, but
and also he's threatening us like a big bully. He's put 25% tariffs on steel.
All those things... No, I don't agree. I think he has every right to try and make income for the United States of America with imposing tariffs. Let's see how it turns out, But my thing is, all of the things that you say may be true, but they're still our biggest trading partner in terms of our exports. So if we rub him up the wrong way, we're not a part of the EU anymore.
I personally think
we're not a part of the EU.
what
let's
he's
take some
done,
calls.
he's
Let's-
unsettled things
Okay.
so badly that
Let's
the
find
world
out-
is changing geopolitically.
Let's find out what everyone thinks out there. Kwame is in London. Is this a door we should be opening, Kwame, saying come on in and speak in Parliament, to both houses possibly?
No, listen, I don't like the guy. I don't like his politics. I don't like his view on the world. However, rightly or wrongly, he was elected by the American people, and this idea that he shouldn't be allowed to speak is part of this general trend we seem to be having of banning people or no platforming people we don't like or we don't agree with. I despise the guy. But, at the end of the day, he's an elected leader.
But he's not our elected leader.
He's not our elected leader, no. He is a leader of someone that, we trade with. We have to be pragmatic about it.
He's our biggest ally.
So you're
Literally
able,
our
Kwame...
biggest ally.
He's not our ally.
Kwame, you're able to put aside the personal, if you like, what you
Yes.
know about Donald Trump.
That's maturity.
And you separate that from his role as leader of the free world and say, that's somebody we need to extend that
leader
welcome
of the
to.
free world or what have you. I mean, I don't like the way Starmer's kissed his backside, but here we are. He invited him, he's going to come.
Well, this is part of that process. This is part of that process, Kwame, isn't it? Do you think Keir Starmer's running the risk of looking like Donald Trump's poodle if he allows him to do this? Something that only Obama has experienced previously.
No, but I mean, you have to weigh up the pros and cons,
But this isn't an automatic thing.
My main beef is this idea of no platforming or banning, which seems to be the driving force of it. It's not.
I would agree with you.
There are a load of people that I don't like politically.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Kwame, if this was someone who struggled to find an audience. Donald Trump has many, many opportunities to speak. We're offering him another one because, let's face it, we might get something back in return.
We might do, but I mean, I should be, where he's going to talk nonsense, and he probably will, right?
Okay.
He should be allowed to air that nonsense, and the people on the other side should be allowed to deconstruct it with logic and facts. But let's face it, this man's going to put his foot in his mouth.
Okay.
We should allow him to make a fool of himself.
OK, that's a unique perspective, Kwame, and a valuable one. Let's hear from Ian in North Ayrshire. Should we allow Donald Trump access to the Houses of Parliament to speak, possibly to both houses? What do you think?
Well, let's just look at the facts. He is, you say, the elected leader of the United States of America. He chooses to do what he wishes. He chooses to ignore the House, the Senate. He chooses to ignore the House of Representatives in his own country. He has no moral standing. Why would you invite someone? If I can't speak in the House of Commons and I'm a British person, how are you choosing to lay down everything that you hold sacred in democracy and give it to a megalomaniac and a halfwit?
Because you have something to gain.
You're falling over yourselves. You've fallen over yourselves enough in government, and this is a step too far.
But what if it's about holding your nose because there is something to gain for the whole country, for 70 million people who might benefit, let's say, from a cheaper grocery bill? Are you saying that people who are struggling to eat here, who might benefit from this, we're going to ignore that possible benefit because this is somebody we don't like, who we don't agree with?
It's not about whether we like him or not. You make the play often enough. He's a duly elected member of the American. He's been elected as American president. He hasn't got an MSP. He's not an MP. He's not a lord. So why are you again falling over yourselves? You've given him a second.
But Ian, okay, if
and
it's
he
about
never merited it only because we want a trade deal.
Ian, if it's about morality, Who would you, because we have to look at this from an economic standpoint, who would you replace trade with if Trump turns his back on the UK? I know we like to rely on this idea that we're Great Britain, but we're no longer in the EU. If we do not try and, build relations with Trump and he turns his back on the UK, are we going to go to China? Their morality is not the greatest. So you tell me how we're going to plug that gap when they're our biggest export trading partner.
Listen, why not? Why not? Why not? Can I speak for a change?
I just asked you a question, Ian.
Why not invite Deng Xiaoping from China and give him a state visit to make things fairer?
He did.
And have him speaking in the House of Parliament.
Morality. I thought morality was your point of view.
That's as absurd as having Donald Trump speak in Parliament.
OK, let's take another caller. Albert's in Devon. Thank you, Ian. Albert's in Devon. What do you reckon? Should we ban Trump from the Houses of Parliament?
Yeah, I think we should ban him from entering the country, to be honest with you, because isn't he a convicted criminal? Mm-hmm. And if it was the other way around, the Americans are they're very strict on anyone coming into their country, and anyone with a criminal background would find it very difficult to get a visa to enter America. This guy's been done for several counts of, what was it? What was he?
I think, well, he's been accused of sexual misconduct many, many times, tax evasion, but he's been a convicted felon. I think he's got 34 offences.
Yeah, I mean...
why would you allow
And may I say, insider trading as well.
Well, because, Albert, the people of the United States are prepared to put that to one side because they think he has something positive to offer them as a country, and they did it overwhelmingly.
They've been duped into thinking that, though, haven't they? It's all a lie. It's all smoke and mirrors from Donald Trump. He stands and lies and talks rubbish. Oh, look at all the promises he's made, and he hasn't kept one of them.
Politicians don't do the same?
I think Albert makes a strong point here, Lin Mei, is that whatever we think we might be getting from Donald Trump as a quid pro quo for the kudos, this great privilege we get, it can be taken away just as quickly when he changes his mind.
I think we're still... OK, but right now... I think we're looking at this from an emotional standpoint and not an economic standpoint. And no one can seem to answer my question. OK, we get rid of Trump America as a trading partner. We don't really like how China carries on with how they deal with things in their country from a morality standpoint. So how are we going to plug that massive deficit of trade that we have with those two countries?
Well, we have a huge trading bloc 30 miles away.
Yeah, exactly.
And the EU are not exactly happy with us for leaving.
They would take us back in a heartbeat. The whole world has changed since Trump got in. Of course they would. And what we should be doing is aligning with Canada and Europe. And actually, you can't discredit China. That would be completely ridiculous,
let's try and take
given
one more
that we have outsourced all of our manufacturing to China. But we can't
criticise America and their morality if we're going to support China.
OK, let's take one more call. Angela is in Bedfordshire. Angela, should we ban Trump from the Houses of Parliament? What do you think?
Right, I don't want to be interrupted by those people.
You're going to be interrupted by me because we've only got a minute. So go for it, Angela.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to say what I think. I think that man, like when he invited that man over, who's been attacked from Russia, that was planned. They downed that man, and he should not be allowed in this country. Who's paying for it? Us taxpayers?
Probably
that
some bit of it.
That man is a criminal.
OK. So you were talking about Zelensky. That's what we're talking about. The way he treated Zelensky
way they treated him in that interview, that was planned.
Zelensky,
Everyone
of course,
said that.
And
I do not think the Prime Minister of who we got today is sucking up to him. Yeah. And why should we do that?
Well, thank you, Angela.
You never got in the Second World War. You never got that man who was in charge sucking up to anyone.
OK.
That's all he's doing.
Thank you, Angela. I think we covered Churchill there briefly as well. That was Zelensky on the steps of Westminster Hall addressing both houses back in 2023. Thank you, Angela, for those calls and for all of your calls today. Later on, it's the papers and everything else.